5 names you don't want to miss in February. Joining us now is MarketBeat analyst Thomas Hughes for one of our favorite segments. Thomas, everyone is always excited to see the 5 stocks you are watching for the next month ahead. The names on this list are really interesting this month, and they cover a lot of different areas of the market. So let's get right into it. What is the first stock that you are looking at in February?
Right, that's Advanced Micro Devices. This stock is rebounding pretty significantly. It kind of highlights something that happened into last year and it's developing this year. And that's just this really robust outlook kind of blossomed. And for this company, because of GPUs and AI demand and the upcoming MI450 launch. But since then, it's been several months since that last report, since that outlook really blossomed. We've been in a wait and see period that caused the market to correct and pull back. We've seen that across many of these names on this list. But since the start of the year, we're rebounding. That rebound affirms these bullish outlooks for these stocks. But it'll be reporting its fiscal Q4 release pretty soon. And within that report, there should be some news affirming the development, the production, the launch of these products.
Have you been following your monthly watch list every month? You've mentioned AMD on your list a few times, even in the last 6 months, always talking about that new product launch. And AMD has really been growing since you've been adding it to your watch list. Let's talk about how much more growth AMD could have. And are the analyst expectations on AMD really factoring in this new product launch already?
They are factoring it in to a degree, but I think that the forecasts are still very low. A lot of what's going on right now is that we're really unsure how much growth we're going to see. But based on the supply-demand metrics, demand for GPUs is so great that they've been sold out through the end of this year and into next year. I see a situation where AMD can sell just as many GPUs as they can make, and NVIDIA still be able to sell just as many as it can make. So in this situation, revenue really could surge.
Do you see that growth in revenue being kind of explosive right after this product is launched, or do you see that revenue growth kind of building up over time?
It will build over time, but it's going to be explosive right after the launch. We've already got 2 major deals in place for thousands of GPUs. So there will be sales realized immediately upon the launch, and they'll just ramp over the subsequent few quarters as orders come in and the production is able to be ramped to full scale.
Now let's talk about timeline quick before we move on to stock number 2 on your list. What is the timeline for that launch? And for investors, what's a timeline about adding AMD? Is it slowly adding a little bit of AMD every month, which you seem to be doing in your watch list every month? Or is it really adding any time because you expect to see AMD continue to grow once this new product comes online?
All right. So the timeline for the launch is the back half of the year. So it's supposed to be launched in fiscal Q3, but the catalyst for this move could come much before that. The upcoming report will have some details about the launch. Could be enough to move this market to a new high. As far as trigger points for buying, investors absolutely will want to build on their position over time. So use pullbacks and confirmations of support, but also moves to new highs as trigger points to add onto your positions. That's usually works pretty well over time.
So interesting to see AMD top your watch list another month. Definitely can tell you are bullish on the future of this company and on AI in general and the demand for GPUs, like you said. I know you have another name coming up towards the end of your list today that's about alternative energy options for powering AI. So I'm excited to get to that name. If you want to explore other alternative ways that energy providers are looking to power the AI boom, check out this article we have just for our YouTube viewers on MarketBeat.com. You can scan the QR code or check the link down in the comments or the description to dig into that article and the 5 different stocks listed in that article all on your own. All right, Thomas, let's get on to that second stock on your watch list for February.
That's Amprius Technologies. Yet another example of a market in a wait-and-see mode. Late last year, Q3 or so, the stock's hitting long-term highs on this really robust and improving outlook. But since then, we've had several months of really a light news flow that provided opportunity for the market to pull back. We hit a long-term low late in 2025, but this stock is now rebounding pretty robustly because that outlook is still in place. We're looking for ramping production, ramping sales, hyper growth, and a clear pathway to profitability to be revealed in the upcoming release. And that will absolutely drive market sentiment. As it stands, the analysts are still leading this market. They're pointing to a new long-term high that could be reached even before the report is released.
Yeah, you've had this kind of outlook for AMPX for a while. This is another name we've seen on the watch list before. If you're looking for new names, don't worry. We have a few different new names coming up to talk about too. But I also think investors that, especially the ones that watch our channel often, want to hear more about your take on AMPX because some people maybe bought in when the stock was closer to its highs, when we saw all of that amping up for this company. And then they're a little surprised by that pullback. Talk about what you think is going on with the life cycle of this company. And in my mind, I also feel like you've always talked about AMPX as more of a long-term position. The true growth for this company is really going to be more long-term. Is that right?
Right. This is a long-term growth play. We're very early in the company's product production ramp and its order ramp. Right now, the trajectory is very bullish. End of last year, we got some news. Amprius added 3 more manufacturers to its manufacturing alliance, brought its capacity up above targets, which means it should be able to meet whatever the demand is over the next year or so, which is going to support this hyper growth outlook. As far as the market goes, this outlook is really swelling rapidly, and we had a pretty robust influx of money and capital last year. So that caused the market to advance, and it even maybe overextended a little bit, and then it pulled back late last year. The critical thing is that this robust long-term outlook has only strengthened since last year, so the forces supporting last year's rally are still in place. In the meantime, this pullback found support at a higher level. So we really are in an uptrend. There's some volatility present, but we're trending higher, supported by this long-term outlook. So in this scenario, we're expecting the market to continue to rally and set new highs, potentially pull back after that high, move down to a fairly deep low. But as long as that subsequent low is still higher than the previous low, the uptrend will still be in place. We'll want to use those lows as entry points and the highs as spots to take profits.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is expect a lot of volatility still ahead for this company. Even though we're seeing it go up right now, you could see it go back again and continue to see that volatility. But what makes you think long term this company has what it takes to really make it? Is there still a risk that even the long term future isn't quite secure?
Well, they could run across some kind of technological snag. Right now, it's not evident. Their product is providing utility. It's superior to existing battery technology. It's being used by defense applications, being reaffirmed by follow-on orders. So it's really just a matter of time for this company's product to reach all the different end markets that it could apply to, which really is any market with a battery. These batteries are lighter with more energy density and better output and charging rates. So there's really nothing not to like about them.
All right, a good solid second pick and a name, again, we're familiar with, but I'm excited about this third name. We've heard about it on the channel before, but it's not one that's made your watch list anytime recently.
Yeah, that's Credo Technology. They've kind of emerged last year as a data center and AI play. They're not making the GPUs or building the data centers, but they do make a lot of the technology that is linking the GPUs together, especially these high speed, high efficiency, low latency optical methods of transmitting data, which is really critical for AI and for inferencing. Their results have been pretty robust. Right now, the market's pulling back. This is pretty contrary to what the analysts and what the results are saying. So this pullback is kind of questionable. We're definitely setting up for a rebound. Analysts are forecasting pretty solid results and pretty solid price action. It's again just a matter of time and a question of what the catalyst might be. I think it will come in the next few weeks, possibly over the next quarter. If not with the upcoming release, then the one following that.
Yeah, what do you think is behind some of the downtrend in this chart? You see a lot of red here, a lot of pullbacks for this company, but again, it's a huge contrast with where the analysts are expecting the stock to go. I think right now it's trading well below even what the lowest price targets are from analysts on this stock. What's the disconnect?
Well, you got to think that this stock, from its low to its high last year, advanced from about $30 to over 180. It's like 500% gain. So even now, with the stock down significantly off its high, it's still presenting hundreds of basis points of profits compared to the previous year's low, which is just an attractive exit point for many investors. Anyone that needs to take profits and show a gain could easily sell some of this stock to do so. With that in play, it may remain under pressure, but again, I'm looking for catalysts to emerge real soon that will help reinforce the bottom and get this market rebounding again.
And before we move on, I just want to talk about the basics with Credo too. What role does this company play in the AI story, and why is it essential, and do we expect to see more demand for what it offers?
Right. So Credo is really important just because of its connectivity solutions. I already mentioned it uses optical solutions, which is just super important for high-speed data transfer. which is applicable to inferencing. Inferencing is the next step in AI. So with this in play, I think Credo's technology will only come into increasingly high demand.
This is an interesting stock, and again, not a story we see often where analysts are still very bullish on the future outlook of this company, and yet the price action is kind of going that opposite direction. It feels risky. You've got some really great names on your watch list today, but this is the one I'm going to add to Bridget's buys simply because I like the theory that this stock is really poised for a turnaround. I'm hoping that's the case, but there's always a risk involved with any of these. But I'm going to add this to my Bridget's buys watch list. If you want to follow along with all of the stocks we talk about on this channel, you can scan the QR code or click the link in the description to follow Bridget's buys if you're not already doing so. All right, Thomas, let's get on to the fourth company on the list. And this is a much newer name. It's one I don't think we've talked about on the channel.
Right. This is Bloom Energy. This is a stock that I covered years ago when alternative energy kind of came into the forefront. It kind of fell to the wayside as fuel cells weren't really becoming a hot market, but that changed over the past year because of data centers and AI. The data center boom has caused an energy crunch because a lot of these facilities have trouble connecting to the traditional grid. Their power needs and their locations just make it difficult for the power companies even to service them. So they need all kinds of power solutions. That's driving the nuclear market, but the nuclear reactors aren't going to be available for a few years, which still leaves a gap to be filled, which Bloom Energy is happy to do. Their fuel cells are still using hydrocarbons and oil, but instead of burning it, they use an electrochemical process to unlock the energy. So it provides an easy setup, quick deployment, efficient energy production, and also a green source of energy. So it checks off a lot of the boxes for these data centers. You can really see this in the results. Revenue in the last quarter grew by more than 50%, and we're looking at another pretty substantial quarterly sequential gain in the next report, likely to be outperformed and compounded by some solid guidance and new deals.
Yeah, I think the biggest standout for this stock is we've been talking about a lot of these growth stocks that have had incredible growth over the last year. The last week or so, I've covered a number of stocks that have been up over 500%, but this one is up over 620% in the last year. What an incredible growth story for this stock. I think a lot of investors look at that and go, am I buying at a crazy high top for this company?
It doesn't seem to be so because right now the revenue and earnings outlook is still swelling and the analyst coverage is still swelling. So right now the market is ahead of consensus, but the revision trends are leading consensus and the market and pointing to new all-time highs. The price action over the past week has set a new all-time high. So to me, this is a breakout. We have bullish indicators pointing to a sustained rally.
Yeah, this company has had such a run up. That's a wild amount of growth, especially interesting to see that it's a company that's been around for a while. Do you think there's other energy stories out there? Again, we've got that article we pitched earlier. You can find that link in the comments or the description. But are there other energy companies that are seeing similar growth stories, or is Bloom really ahead of the pack in this growth it's seeing?
Well, the natural gas market is also seeing some boost from data centers and the nuclear industry, but natural gas is available now. Nuclear won't be available for a few more years. And then as far as other fuel cells go, those are primarily using hydrogen, and they just don't produce the kind of energy that we need for data centers. Right now, Bloom seems to be uniquely positioned. The question is whether or not they're able to hold that position as effective as they are for these small applications like data centers and industrial purposes. They're not so great for grid support, and it could be disrupted over time.
All right, an interesting name to look at. And again, what a growth story to talk about. And now let's get on to that fifth and final name you have for us. And this is where all of that energy demand is coming from.
Right. That's Applied Digital. We've talked about this company many times over the last few quarters. They're shifting from Bitcoin to AI. They're building out new data centers. Already got their first AI campus operating. They're expanding that. Their second campus is being built. It's supposed to begin operating this year and to be expanded. They've got a very robust deal pipeline with new deals coming online just about every month, it seems like, supporting this robust outlook. The last earnings report was very good. They grew at a near 100% pace, significantly outperforming analyst consensus, got them juicing their targets again. This market, again, is one I think that just broke out to new highs.
Yeah, there's been so much growth in this stock. It's another growth story, up over 500% year over year. So the story has been incredible. We were talking about Applied Digital when it was back back well under $5 when we were first talking about it. So I know a lot of our viewers have loved watching this stock grow, but it's interesting to see it's on your buy list right now at this new breakout that it's having. Why do you think now is still a good time to buy Applied Digital?
Because the results and the market action have signaled a market shift. Before, it was that same story as before. Market swelled based on this outlook, entered a wait and see period. We've corrected. Since then, we're rebounding. This last report has affirmed the outlook that was indicated last year, caused the market to move above prior resistance, which now is a pivot point.
Yeah, that's why it's a name we continue to talk about and continues to make your watch list. I know we talked about Applied Digital on the channel just a couple weeks ago when their earnings came out and we saw a 250% surge in demand for their services. If you haven't checked out this interview yet, definitely give it a watch. There's 5 other data center stocks that are also poised for a lot of growth, just like Applied Digital. You can watch that here.